Dear students, let's start with a new topic in the biology, the body fluids and circulation. The topic is from NCERT 11 class from page number 193 onwards. What is circulation? As you know, the body needs continuous supply of oxygen and nutrients and also continuous removal of the waste substances. For this, we need a very efficient mechanism which can help in the circulation of the useful and removal of the waste substances. Now, this system is called as the circulation. Circulation is present in all the animals. If we consider the lowest form, the sponges and the coelentrates, these are completely aquatic. As they live in the water, they will circulate the water from the surroundings inside the body. This water which enters into the body of sponges through the water canal system and in the coelentrates, this will help in the exchange of the substances. As we move on to some of the complex organisms, starting from Annelida, as the body has more cells and more complexity, they have specialized fluids, what we call as the blood. You should remember, annelids have a closed circulatory system. And these fluids called as the blood, they will help in the transport of the substances. In the case of the humans, we have the fluids in the body which help in the process of transportation and removal of the waste substances. One such fluid is the blood, and the second type of fluid is the lymph. Blood is present in most of the higher organisms, including the humans. And the second type of fluid which also helps in transportation is the lymph. Let's see about the details of these two fluids in this chapter. So let's discuss about the blood. As you know, blood is a special connective tissue. It is also called as the fluid tissue. So there are basically two parts in the blood. The fluid matrix is called as plasma, which form the 55% of the blood, and the cellular part are properly called as the formed elements. The formed elements account for nearly 45% of the blood. Let's see about the plasma. Plasma is light yellowish or straw-colored viscous fluid which consists of 90 to 92% of water. Proteins account for 6 to 8% of the total plasma, and there are three major types of the proteins seen in the plasma. The fibrinogen is responsible for the clotting. The globulins form the immunoglobulins and responsible for the defense mechanism. The most abundant protein in the blood plasma is the albumin, responsible for the osmotic balance. Other than these main substances, that is the water and the proteins, the remaining percent is covered by minerals and the different type of minerals like the sodium, the calcium, the magnesium, the bicarbonate ions, the chloride ions, and so on. There are so many useful substances like with the glucose, the amino acids, the lipids, and so on. Plasma also contains many clotting factors which help in the clotting of the blood. All these clotting factors are in the inactive form. Whenever the clotting process starts, they become active and help in formation of the clot. Remember that plasma without the clotting factors, so plasma minus the clotting factors, is called as serum. So what is serum? Serum is the plasma without the clotting factors. So this is about plasma. Let's quickly revise. So blood is a specialized connective tissue and the fluid tissue. The two major components of the blood is 55% of plasma and 45% of the formed elements. Coming to plasma, a straw-colored viscous fluid with 90 to 92% of water, 6 to 8% of the proteins. The major proteins being the clotting factor called as fibrinogen, globulins help in the defense mechanism, form the antibodies, and the albumin maintains the osmotic balance. The remaining substance consists of minerals, useful substances like glucose, amino acids, and lipids. The clotting factors are present in the inactive form. During the clotting, they become active. What is serum? Serum is plasma without the clotting factors. So I can say that plasma can clot, but serum cannot clot. So let's continue with the formed elements. So let's continue with the formed elements in the blood. And as we have discussed earlier, the 45% of the blood is made up of the formed elements. So as you can see in the diagram, the formed elements are of three categories: the RBC or the erythrocytes, the WBC or the leukocytes, and the platelets or the thrombocytes. We discuss about each one of these in detail. So we start with the RBC, the erythrocytes. Of all the formed elements in the blood, erythrocytes are the most abundant. Number is highest for the RBC. It is roughly 5 to 5.5 million per cubic millimeter. The erythrocytes or the RBC are red in color because of the red color pigment called as the hemoglobin, where the heme will give the red coloration. And this hemoglobin mainly helps in the transport of gases, that is, the transport of oxygen mainly. The RBC is produced from the red bone marrow present in the bones. RBC is enucleated, that is, the nucleus is absent. It is biconcave in shape. You call it as disc-like or biconcave in shape. Biconcave, where the sides are thicker and the center part is comparatively thin. Coming back to the hemoglobin, 100 ml of blood consists of 12 to 16 grams of hemoglobin in a healthy adult. The RBC has a limited lifespan of 120 days, and after this, the dead RBC reach the spleen where they are degraded. So, spleen is called as the graveyard of RBC. So, let's revise the RBC. The RBC are the erythrocytes, the most abundant type of the cells. Number is roughly 5 to 5.5 million per cubic millimeter. All the cells are formed from the red bone marrow. The red pigment is because of the hemoglobin. It mainly helps in the transport of the gases like oxygen. A healthy adult consists of 12 to 16 grams of hemoglobin in 100 ml of blood. RBC is enucleated, that is, nucleus is absent and biconcave in shape. Lifespan is 120 days. And after that, the dead RBC reach the spleen, the graveyard of RBC, which help in the destruction and degradation of the RBC. So this is about the RBC or the erythrocytes. Let's continue with the WBC. WBC is also called as leukocytes. So what is WBC? The white blood cells. Why we call them as the white? Because these are colorless, as the hemoglobin pigment is absent in these cells. These are nucleated, and the number of WBC in the blood is 6,000 to 8,000 per millimeter cube. Some of the WBC are short-lived, that is, from few hours to few days, whereas some can live for many years. Generally, the lymphocytes, which are in the form of the memory cells, can survive for many years. So as you can see in the diagram, the WBC are of different types. Basically, we can divide them into granulocytes. As the name indicates, these are the cells with the granules, and agranulocytes, that is, the cells without the granules. So cytoplasm consists of granules. It is called as granulocyte. As you can see in the diagram, the neutrophils, the eosinophils, and the basophil consist of different type of granules. And these granules are absent in lymphocytes and monocytes, where the cytoplasm is very clear. Here discuss about the granulocytes. The three type of granulocytes, what you can see are neutrophils, the basophils, and the eosinophils. Coming to the percentage of these cells, the neutrophils are 60 to 65% of the total WBC. The basophil is 0.5 to 1% of the total WBC, and the eosinophils account for 2 to 3%. Function-wise, neutrophils are phagocytic in nature. That is, they help in engulfing the harmful substances. Basophils generally secrete the inflammatory substances such as heparin, histamine, serotonin, and so on. So they are responsible for the inflammatory reactions. Eosinophils are responsible to resist the inflammation, which is mainly caused due to the allergic reactions. If you remember, when you have cold, severe cold, at that time our eosinophil number increases, and this condition is called as eosinophilia. So this is about the granulocytes. The three type of granulocytes are neutrophils, the highest in number, phagocytic in nature. Eosinophils, second highest in number in granulocytes, 2 to 3%, resist the inflammation for allergic reactions. And the third is basophils, 0.5 to 1%. They produce the inflammatory substances like heparin, histamine, serotonin, and so on. Coming to the agranulocytes, as you can see in the diagram, there are two type of agranulocytes. That is, the cytoplasm is clear without any granules. These are monocytes and lymphocytes. The monocytes account for 6 to 8% of the WBC, and these are phagocytic in nature. The remaining 20 to 25% is occupied by lymphocytes. There are two types of lymphocytes, the T lymphocytes and the B lymphocytes. Both the T and the B lymphocytes are responsible for the immune responses. So this is about the WBC. Let's quickly revise. The WBC or the leukocytes, we call them as white blood cells as they are colorless as they lack the hemoglobin. These are nucleated. The number ranges from 6,000 to 8,000 per millimeter cube. These are short-lived cells from few minutes, few hours to even many years. Two types are prominent in the WBC. The granulocytes, which consist of the granules in cytoplasm, and the agranulocytes. The granulocytic cells are neutrophils, phagocytic, basophils, inflammatory, and eosinophils resist the inflammation during allergic reactions. Coming to the agranulocytes are monocytes and lymphocytes. Monocytes are phagocytic in nature, and lymphocytes, like the T cells and B cells, responsible for the immune responses. Now, as you can see, there are so many percentages here, right? So let's arrange all the cells based upon the percentages. So we have neutrophil 60 to 65%, followed by lymphocyte 20 to 25, followed by monocytes 6 to 8%, followed by eosinophils 2 to 3%, and the last one is basophils 0.5 to 1%. So in the examination, the questions can be given to arrange them either in ascending or descending orders. So this is the percentages, and now you can arrange them based upon the ascending or descending orders. Function-wise, neutrophils are phagocytic, monocytes are phagocytic. Lymphocytes are responsible for the immune responses. Eosinophils is concerned with the allergy, and basophils is concerned with the inflammation. So remember these points for the further discussion. Now let's move on to the platelets. So coming to the third type of cells called as the platelets, also called as thrombocytes. Thrombus is the clot, as they help in the clotting we call them as the thrombocytes. As the name indicates, platelets. These are the cell fragments of a larger cell called as the megakaryocyte. Megakaryocyte is produced by the red bone marrow, which undergoes fragmentation to produce the platelets. Number of platelets in a healthy adult will range from 1,50,000 to 3,50,000 per millimeter cube. The main function of the platelets is they produce different type of clotting factors. These clotting factors are responsible to form a clot, and as you know, the blood clotting will help in prevention of the blood loss. So platelets are responsible mainly for the clotting process. So the third type of the cells what we have discussed are the platelets. Platelets responsible mainly for clotting. Blood clotting will help in preventing the blood loss. These are the cell fragments and the fragmentation of megakaryocyte. Number ranges from 1 lakh to 3,50,000, and they produce different type of clotting factors whenever we have a cut or a wound. So this is all about the blood, the plasma and the formed elements. Do follow the Telegram channel link for the daily practice papers. Keep practicing.